It's the Mahoning and Shenango Valley's geekiest weather video. It's Weather for Weather Geeks, Monday evening, the 13th day of February. Happy Valentine's Day Eve. Hope you had a good weekend. How about that wind last night? That was pretty impressive. We had gusts topped out between 40 and 50 miles per hour across the region last night, but things did calm down today. It turned out to be a pretty sunny afternoon. I'll show you a nice time lapse in just a second. Wanted to start this evening with a little astronomy. Now, this has been a sight in the western sky for several weeks now, but of course we've had a lot of cloudy evenings lately, so it's a nice clear evening to check out Venus. Big and bright in the west-southwest sky, and then if you look up and to the left, it's much more faint, but you can't see it. It's got that reddish hue. That is Mars up and to the left of Venus in the west-southwest sky this evening. The other thing to note is a nice pass of the International Space Station at 8:06 this evening. Just after this video makes it online, you should be able to check out the space station. Now, it's kind of a low pass tonight. It's not one of those right overhead passes. It's, it'll be a decent one. If you've never seen the space station fly over, it does not blink. If you see it blinking, that's an airplane. The space station does not blink, and it's always really cool to get the kids out there, check that out, and tell them, hey, there's human beings on that thing. So that's something I always enjoy anyway. All right, time-lapse video time from Niles today, showing the clouds this morning, but then, hey, there we go. Sky brightened up nicely this afternoon. Turned out to be a fairly sunny afternoon. In fact, crystal clear sky right around sunset this evening. We had a real nice sunset. I think we'll have a nice sunrise tomorrow morning, because some high clouds are going to push in, and that usually makes for good sunrises and sunsets when we have some high cirrus clouds pushing in. All right, we managed to get up to 37 today, a little warmer than we thought, thanks to that abundance of late afternoon sun. That's 1 degree above the average. Our low was 28 this morning. That is several above the average for this date. All right, I mentioned those clouds that'll come in late tonight. We'll have a cirrus deck of clouds. This is what's pushing through Missouri, Iowa, Illinois right now. And as this thin deck of high clouds moves in, again, no big deal. I think it should make for a nice sunrise tomorrow morning. We do have some rain out across parts of the Red River Valley, some snow in the Four Corners region, and the West Coast bracing for another big, impactful storm this week. What a winter it has been out there. All right, our weather looks fantastic tomorrow. I think these high clouds, whatever's around at sunrise, will fade away, leading to a mostly sunny midday and afternoon. Temperatures will rise well into the 40s. Nice little southwest breeze developing. It's going to be a nice February day tomorrow, a little more like mid to late March rather than mid-February. So a good Valentine's Day tomorrow. All right, we do have a cold front coming our way tomorrow night, though, and I do think that this front is a pretty strong one. Could see a couple of raindrops as the precipitation moves in, but I think this will quickly transition over to just snow showers later on tomorrow night into Wednesday. The wind will pick up. Temperatures will barely move all day Wednesday. It's back to winter for a couple of days Wednesday and into Thursday. More flurries into Thursday, more gusty breezes. Notice our isobars are packed together pretty tightly across the region. Now, the snow is not really going to add up to much here locally, but if you happen to be traveling up 79 and 90 in northwest PA through the Erie area, heading up towards Jamestown, New York, a handful of inches of snow, a possibility in those locales. Not really expecting any accumulation aside from some random dustings here locally. I mentioned it's going to get cold. It's going to be windy. We're looking at wind chills here Thursday morning, well down into the single digits, and not much better in the afternoon. So Wednesday and Thursday, pretty tough days. I think by Friday morning, it's still pretty cold, but warmer air will be pushing in quickly on Friday. And Friday's going to be there's going to be a big diurnal difference in the temperatures on Friday. We'll start out in the teens Friday morning and probably get up into the lower and middle 40s in the afternoon. So it'll be a nice turnaround as we wrap up the week. All right, transitional pattern. I've been honking about this big-time warm-up coming seemingly forever now, and here it comes, just in time for the weekend. This cold air mass, this little lobe of the polar vortex up across Quebec, that's going to be on the way out over the next few days. Now, it is going to be cold again for midweek, but that's just kind of a 2-day deal. By the end of the week and into the weekend, a ridge is starting to establish itself over the eastern two-thirds of the country, and this will really start pumping in the warmth by the end of the weekend and early next week. Anonymously, easy for me to say, anomalously, not anonymous, anomalously warm pattern east of the Rockies by Sunday and into Monday as well. How warm are we talking? Well, this is the European model, which tends to be pretty accurate in the long range, especially compared to the American medium and long range models. It's painting 60 or so for 3 straight days. for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday of the weekend and early next week. Now, will it be exactly these numbers? Probably not, but we should be somewhere in the vicinity of this. Somewhat tricky forecast for Sunday in that there might be a little backdoor front, we call it, sliding in from the east that might try to play some shenanigans with our temperatures, but assuming that backdoor front doesn't make it here, I think these numbers are attainable late in the weekend and early next week. What about the longer range? Hot off the presses here. This is the European, what we call the weeklies. This is the very long-range version of the European model, and this basically is showing us the temperature anomalies over the next month when you average them all out. Now, of course, baked into the next 30 days, there's going to be some cold days, there's going to be some warm days, but overall, this is what the picture looks like as an average for the next month. Boy, looks familiar, doesn't it? Kind of looks like the rest of the winter season, especially since the turn of the new year. So I think the warmer than average days are likely to outnumber the colder than average days again over the next month. And if this has the right idea, we could be looking at kind of an early spring this year. So, hey, no complaints from me. I'll take that any year. But we'll see how it plays out. But that's hot off the presses, something that all meteorologists who are interested in the longer range have a look at every Monday evening and Thursday evening. We get these fresh versions of the long-range European. Just like any model, though, you got to take it with a grain of salt. The models have wildly differing skill levels sometimes in these longer range situations. Sometimes it's amazing how right they are. Sometimes it's like throwing a stone into a pond. A little ripple can have big ramifications down the line, and if there's a little ripple the model's not seeing, it can end up being wrong. So I just show you these just to show you what they are advertising. I'm not saying that it's right, but it seems to me it has a logical idea. Until the atmosphere proves otherwise, we're going to just assume it stays mild for a while. We need to see the atmosphere decide to get cold for more than a day or two at a time before we start talking about sustained periods of cold weather once again. All right, I've rambled long enough. Thanks for watching tonight. I'll see you tonight on